Welcome to all of you who have taken the time to come along with me on this journey while we explore old Scandinavian folklore, witchcraft, Svartkonst, Þursakyngi, and more. Today we will start with the Maran. Maran, the mare, is one of the most prevalent beings in Scandinavian folk tales and traditions, and she is the female counterpart to the varulv. She does not transform into a wolf, but into an invisible entity, or manifested into a ghost that enters people's homes through small holes and cracks like knot holes, and a drilled hole in a wall. The Mara is most often said to be a woman, but sometimes told to be a man. The Mara in Swedish folk traditions is complex and inconsistent, sometimes even contradictory, as people had different experiences during their nocturnal visits and diverse manifestations. Sometimes she appears to be so visible that the victims can recognize her being either somebody alive or dead. Unmarried women were said to become morar after they have died. Her transformation is generally caused by sexual desire to a man, jealousy, or evil thoughts towards an enemy, and a curse against her will. And it is often said that in the day she is a normal woman, and at night she turns into a mara and is forced to haunt people. Occasionally, the person is entirely unaware that they are a Mara as well. Quote, "I will never forget in all my days when she came to me in the night after I had gone to bed. I thought it was my last moment. Mara was like an old dry crone. She was grabbing my neck and I couldn't see anymore, and my demise was about to come. I couldn't move, neither breathe or scream. Finally, she let go." Wicked and powerful thoughts were often believed to be the source of the phenomenon called Mara. Legends refer to women who were in love with men who did not want them back, and their strong desire manifested into the Mara and flew to the men at night to ride them. The power of the thought was said to be so strong that the men could see the appearance of the lusting nocturnal women and identify them. The same was also told for men with one-sided love. There are so many whens and whats and hows of the way the Mara emerges and attacks, and who has the inclination or is cursed to become a Mara. It is repeatedly said that the Mara only attacks weaker persons, that unchristian women turn into one, and that children can be attacked if their parents are too resilient and strong for the Mara. If a cat or a dog walks under her, or if a cat jumps over or into the cradle or is even close to an unbaptized infant, he or she will become attacked by the Mara, or even become one. People without hair in their armpits or who lacked pubic hair had the disposition to become one. And similar to Javlen, people with red hair were believed to have an easier time to be cursed to fly as a Mara. And the Mara does not thrive in a place where chickens are found. The Swedish Mara tradition is believed to have risen from the Old Norse belief in the opportunity for the soul to travel and enchant. This hypothesis has its foundation in the similar pre-Christian ideas of women who flew around in the night and visited men to enchant them. She is the Scandinavian succubus, who comes in the night as a nightmare, often described to ride people on their chests in their sleep till they have a hard time breathing, draining them of their energy and leaving them with horrible nocturnal anxiety, sleep paralysis, and panic attacks. She was always accompanied by a bad dream, i.e., the nightmare. And in some cases, she even leaves distinct markings on the victim's body. When finally woken up, they are drenched in sweat and sometimes have a fever and dizziness. The Swedish Mara did not attack just people. Many old testimonies tell us that the Mara was often riding the cattle in the stables at night, such as horses and cows. They were seen attaching themselves, biting their necks. This was such a frequent conviction that many stables had, and still have, superstitious protections hanging over their doorways, buried underneath their thresholds, or hung on the walls to prevent the Mara from entering. Quote, "It was in one place that the horse was sweating every morning. The farmer took a look and hung a scythe over the horse because it would be good against the Mara. In the morning, when he came into the stable, the farmhand was hanging dead on the scythe. It was the farmhand who was the Mara." She would even ride trees, most often birch and spruce, and twigs balled up into a cluster on its branches were believed to be the mark of her riding at night. The Mara was also associated with whirlwinds. She would sometimes come as the wind, and the wise would throw a knife into the whirlwind, which would stop it, but the knife would be gone. The next day, a woman would be revealed to have a knife wound on her body, proving that she was the Mara or a witch. Winds are frequently connected to witches and the dead in Swedish folktales. Quote, "The whirlwinds are nothing but traveling witches, and you should therefore never swear when you see such, but rather read a prayer." Not seldom did she appear as an animal, like a black cat, a snake, a hare, a mouse, dog, pig, bird, and an owl. She could also transform herself into objects, for example, a pitchfork or a rolling ball of yarn. It is said that if you found an unfamiliar pitchfork broken in two, you would see your neighbor the next day with a broken leg. Analogous to the werewolf tradition, the common reason for the Mara curse was the responsibility of the mother who at the time of childbirth used sorcery to have a painless delivery of the baby. Since this was taboo, the punishment was for the female child to become a Mara. One of the most effective curses to send out and upon one's enemies was the Mara. Those who knew how to conjure her would send her to the neighbors, long-distance enemies, or even family members. It was believed to be the spirit of a dead person that was summoned and controlled and sent out as a Mara. It's told that a dead person can also, on their own accord, become a Mara and attack a living person. Another type of Mara was said to be ghosts or spirits of dead women who died unmarried and lusted for men. This kind of Mara was an erotic entity that sought to visit men at night and bewitch them and have sex with them. Others were afflicted and evil people who were believed to remain the same after death and who would come back to haunt and avenge as Maror. To be visited by a Mara was something one, in general, would not talk about since it was shameful, because it was believed that the ones the Mara visited were more impious than others. The Mara was the devil's instrument. It was believed that Satan gave his followers special abilities and aid in their sorcery so that they could manifest their thoughts and desires and send them out to do harm. He fulfilled their wishes. According to tradition, the Mara was the soul of a jealous person who was able, with the aid of the devil, to fly around outside his or her body, and to walk through doors and walls. The Mara had a huge impact in the people of Sweden, and a great deal of them were frequently visited and tormented by her in various forms. For instance, in folk medicine, the Mara was considered an illness. She would ride you until you were 3 breaths from death. It was a major problem that she often arose as manifestations of people's malevolent thoughts or wishes to harm them, which was extremely hard to shield oneself from if you were not experienced in sorcery. This made it very important to have all kinds of different sorceress protections and folk remedies against her, taught by those who were wise in Svartkonst. She was mostly known to be destroyed for calling out her Christian name, just like a werewolf, or by a hefty strike, by weapons with an edge, and by fire. I will now quote some examples from old, genuine Swedish books of black art of how people protected themselves from the Mara. To get rid of the Mara, a knife forged from both iron and steel is run into the wall above the bed while saying, "Ride the knife, not me." If the Mara rides you, put a knife above the door, then throw a pillow at it and say, "Tomorrow, you will be here before I eat breakfast." Then the one who put the Mara on you will show up, and thus the Mara will disappear. When a man suffers from a Mara, the healer takes the knife into his hand and says, standing at the bed above the sick, "You will go away to hell from where you came." Then he spits 3 times towards the door. When a person perceives the arrival of a Mara, he should kick thrice with his left foot and say, "Smoke and run away to the lowest hell, and do not come here again." If a person is tormented by the Mara, take burning sulfur and carry it 3 times in a circle counterclockwise by the door. The sick person, as soon as he has gained strength, stand up and throw hot ashes from the stove through the door of the house. So the one who has turned into a Mara is summoned to the farm with words, "Come tomorrow and ask for what I do not have." The person in question will then have to come to the farm the next morning and ask for something that is not on his farm. The visitor should then be given a hefty blow to the mouth, after which he will cease to be a Mara. This concludes this portion of a reading from Ekortu's Þursakyngi for Svartkonst. Subscribe and like, and come back for more. Thank you.